who's ready for a battle? We're doing a 4v4 on the Siberian plateau. In this match, it's going to be myself, and I'm going to have on my team Dominant 711. I've never played with him before. Bovski and Amneroc. And we're going to be opposing. Across from me is going to be Luke 15. Then next to him is Deluxe. Next to him is a noob. No, I'm just kidding. It's Joker. And then next to him is another guy that I don't know, never played with. But yes, you can see on this map, we're surrounded by mountains, as Amneroc pointed out. Alright, so you can see here, Amneroc's American army. Directly across from him is going to be the Ottoman player, who's somebody I haven't played, like I said. Lining up to just to the left is going to be Bovski. Across from him is the British player. It's going to be Joker. Right, and lining up next to the Swedish Bovski is going to be another Swedish player who is going to be Dominant 711, and lining up next to Joker's British army is going to be Deluxe as the American player. I, of course, am going to be playing as Prussia, and directly across from me, also going to be playing with Prussia, is going to be Luke 15, and he will be Prussia with the red. I will be Prussia with the green around the flag. Now, back over here to the opposite flank from me is going to be the Ottoman player, who I oppose, and Amneroc also opposes. Sorry, I said that wrong. Amneroc's going to be pushing up to go up against him. Now, again, this player I have not played against. I don't know how good he is, or really anything about him. All I can say is that Amneroc pushes up extremely far, extremely quick. He's already right in front of the Ottoman player, and he's going to be rolling his lights to the flank. And it's going to take a minute before the Ottoman player starts shifting his lights over. Okay, so see, the Ottoman player also brought camel gunners, and they are a long-range unit. So actually the rules in this were 3 lights. So realistically the Ottoman player has 5, because he has 3 light infantry and 2 camel gunners which shoot of a light range. You can see here the Ottoman's artillery has already opened fire, and he's curiously got them lined up right with his line infantry, and I'm not sure if they're inflicting any damage. You can see they're lined up, and he's actually killed some of his own men. And I don't know how effective they're going. He's almost in canister range, so I'm kind of surprised he's not using canister. You can see the skirmish as fight has already started on the flank, and yeah, it's hard to tell. I think he did get a little bit of damage on Amneroc. You can see, like I said, on the far flank, the camel gunners are fighting out with the Legion. And this is a very curious move. The first of many suicide charges in this game. These grenadiers are going to full-on charge into the American lines, and surprisingly he actually does get a grenade throw off right here. It does quite a bit of damage to one of the Marines, and I think a few of the Legions get caught up in that grenade throw too, but they're not going to last much more than one grenade throw, so not really worth it. Okay, and the next to them, we're going to switch over that fight. You can see the artillery fire already hitting down on Joker, and Bovski is pushing up his lights, and it looks like we're going to have a little bit of skirmish action. But you can see here, Bovski is actually doing quite a bit of damage to these units in the back, and he's going to be rolling up his cav to make an assault on Joker's lights. But you can see here a problem. He's going to line up his general right next to his artillery, so they take collateral damage. Really smart to do that, and the goons here are going to take some shots on the lights, but they're going to do a whole lot of damage because of the trees. And you can see that artillery, he's doing much better damage against Joker's men there. The skirmish action is just going pretty slow, not a lot to say in the center of their battlefield, but that will soon change here. Next door to the left is going to be Dominant 711. He's opening up artillery fire with Deluxe, and not much front yet other than exchanging artillery fire. Dominance has a quite small army. He's ranked up almost every unit he has, and he has Lifeguard and ranked them up, so that's quite expensive to do as well. Over here, I'm going to push up on the far left. I have that flank. I'm going to be laying my stakes here, and Luke will be doing the same directly across from me, and that's kind of where we're at. Alright, so I'm going to try to make a move here because on this first shot that Luke gets on me, he just demolishes one of my lines. So I've already had in my mind to attack Luke's artillery because of how he has set up, and he's pushing right in the tree line. And what I figure is I can shift all my lights over and get a jump on his lights. When I shift my lights over, I'm going to push all my line on the left forward to hold his lights from following my lights. Then I'm going to push my line on my right forward, and unfortunately the Americans are going to join that fight, but I'll absorb the first shots from his line, and I'm going to push my hussars through on the far edge of the tree line, bust it through one of his line, and then try to push it through to his artillery. Like I said, that way I've given my hussars plenty of cover, but in the during all this happening, as I stumble over my words, Luke is also countered to go after my artillery, which I wasn't really planning on. So I'm choking myself up, but yeah, that was a lot to spit out. But yeah, so anyway, we basically trade off artillery. I do have 13 men left on my artillery unit because I run them out, so I actually do have artillery men left. Problem is, I'm trying to put my guys back on their artillery unit, but I can't damn well find them. I don't know where they are. So yeah, that's bad. I'm like just clueless. I'm zooming in trying to find their artillery, and I can't find it. So yeah, after this point I pretty much forget about my artillery because there's just no point at it anymore. So I'm just trying to get myself reorganized after the first action here with Luke. So things went pretty much, you know, I guess even trade, with the exception of my lines getting beat up on the right. Deluxe helping out on that flank really did put a hurting on my lines. I'll switch back over to the action with Amneroc, and over here his American forces are putting some pain to the Ottomans' right flank. But the Ottoman player does get a charge off on him. And Amneroc does form squares here on this flank, and he's going to use his dragoons to just shoot into these Lancer cav, and they're not going to fare too well against guns and a square all at once. And then they're taking fire from the lines behind as well. Now Amneroc's going to push his cav through his square with a couple units of it, and he's going to go after the Ottoman line here, but he forms square and stops before the square. So him forming square, he's getting shot up by the line and the dragoons. So over here on the other flank, you can see the skirmish fight has escalated quite a bit, to the point that the Ottomans have lost one of their camels, and also he's actually put quite a bit of damage to Amneroc's legions too. Switch over here to the artillery fire with the Swedes and the British and American forces over here fighting against the two Swedish armies. You can see the general here for Bovski is taking another hit, and Bovski's Swedish rifles here are holding up the center. But these Fergusons have put some pretty darn good damage onto his lights. So yeah, not a whole lot happening here on this the center of the battlefield at the moment, but this is going to escalate, like I said, just quite quickly on the center here in a few. So with the flank open, Joker's going to go ahead and start pushing this Swedish flank on the right. Looks like Bovski's going to go ahead and shift his cav over to help support his right. But he did take a little bit of damage from his own artillery and decides to go ahead and shift into the center of Joker with his cav. You can see it coming through now. And he's going to go for his Fergusons and his green jackets. So all of his cav is going to get pushed right into the line of fire. Kind of reminds me of something I would do. Sometimes I get too impatient with my cav, and I can see here from somebody else doing it. Not always the best idea, and also you'll see me do some similar moves as well. Whereas Joker over here on the flank is supporting the Ottoman player with his dragoons rather than wasting them like me and Bovski do. You can see he puts quite a bit of damage to Amneroc's left flank here. Now in the center next to me, the dominant 711 is going up against Deluxe's American forces here, and he's just getting pummeled with this fog of war here of the quicklime. It's foggy, isn't it? So at this time that he pretty much gets pretty good beating put on him by Deluxe's forces here. So the one thing I would say about Dominance's selection of army is he did rank up all of his units, but when you do that, when you bring a small army, you can't really stretch with all your opponents. So he wasn't able to hold the flank next to me on my immediate right flank. So every unit he loses is just magnified to extreme, and basically because that gap in the flank here, after a little bit, he's going to lose his artillery, and I think it was Luke's going to push through and get his artillery. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you got to balance out your army. If you bring expensive units, you also got to think about bringing militia or something to help give you some men. Because basically, as you'll see, he's got higher ranked units, but a lot of them don't even get to shoot because they're outgunned and they're outflanked. And it's just a bad combination to have both of those things happen. So his army didn't really even get that many get that much damage in, and that's considering the fact Deluxe actually gave him some kills with some bad moves on his part. So back over here on the flank of Amneroc, you can see the Ottoman player is getting another cav charge off on Amneroc's left flank, and so his left flank's under a pretty good amount of pressure with the British goons and the Lancers. But on his right flank, he was also under quite a bit of pressure. So he's going to fall back a little bit and regroup, and then he will get a little bit stronger position to attack from. So once Amneroc gets himself back in position, he's actually going to regroup and put a hurting back down on him. So that was a right move on his part. You got to know when to pull back, and he definitely did that. His dragoons are going back through the back of the Ottoman lines and mopping them up, and he's bringing his other flanking force back to his main body of his army. So now the Ottoman player is pinned in, and it's going to be even more difficult for Rick to be able to, Joker to be able to support him with his goons, because it's a little bit more distance that goes through the tree line, so any shots his goons take will be blocked by trees. So here the camels make a last-ditch charge on the Marines, and you can see the Ottoman army routing off the field and the American army closing in to wrap him up. And over here to the immediate flank, you can see Joker's army is again doing the same thing to Bovski that Deluxe is doing to Dominance. He is just overwhelming him with sheer numbers now at this point, because Bovski has lost quite a bit of men. He only has a small unit of cav left that's getting shot up, so not really even, really getting any action in. So at this point, Joker's just pretty much mopping up on the Swedish Bovski, just like Amneroc is doing to the Ottoman player. So basically on the right side of the battlefield, we traded armies. Unfortunately for us, our winning side was the one that's further away from us, so him to support my army is going to be not realistic. You can see here just a few units of Brovski's are left, and he's going to be trying to fall back to the other Swedish player. Alright, so back to my side of the battle, and you can see here that my three line on my right flank are barely holding on, but the trees are helping me withstand some of the damage from the superior lines of Luke's Prussians, and I am going to be shooting and trying to fall back, as you can see, and then I will start to shift my dragoons over to my left, or to more to the center left of my field. Okay, so sorry I haven't moved my dragoons just yet. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but basically what you're going to see now is right flank is under tremendous pressure from the American Deluxe and Luke's Prussians, and again, the Swedish player having fewer units being able to support me on the flank is really putting a hurting on my right. So you can basically see it doesn't take much, just one line overlapping on my side of the American Minutemen is enough to put extra punishment back onto me. Sorry. So now you're going to see I'm going to start shifting my cav over, and I have a brilliant idea based on the way that Luke is formed up. I'm going to try to make a push to get his lights knocked out of the game to try to give myself an advantage so I can push that flank and put Luke out. So I'm going to take two of my line and run them towards the Jaegers of Luke's, and when I do that, I'm going to follow it up with a cav charge behind, because I know my lines aren't going to catch his lights, so my cav will push through and get to him. And I do have them go out in a straight line across, so that when Luke brings his goons over to shoot mine, only my one on my far flank is going to take the shots, allowing my other three to roam free and put the damage where I need it to be put. But again, like I was saying with Bovski, this isn't a really great move. I could have used my Dragoons more efficiently later. As you'll see, this is going to be damaging to me more. I was already winning the light fight. It was really unnecessary to do this. Okay, so you'll see I do pull one of my Dragoons out, which is a good thing, and I do pull the other two out of the fight as my lines do make contact. So I am able to save at least 3 of my Dragoons on this charge, which is, like I said, again, very lucky. And I am going to catch all of his lines on my left flank. All of his lines are going to be isolated, so now I'm going to try to press an attack against them, but you'll see how that goes. So you'll see my lines on my left are kind of lined up kind of awkwardly, which is because I was running up and I had to stop them as they were running, and that's how they kind of ended up. But I actually did quite a bit of damage because all my my 2 lines on the flank focused on one unit and knocks him out, and I actually don't take a tremendous amount of losses from his volleys. So for some reason that worked out pretty well. So you'll see I am able to pin Luke's lines over here, and I sandwich them between my cav charge. But for some reason when I pushed him through, I had him walking, so that didn't do too good, and Luke follows up with a cav charge of his own on the back of my Dragoons. But I am able to, again, pull them through, but I do take more damages than I wanted to. So now I'm just trying to keep chasing Luke's remnants of his right flanking body, and I'm going to push my goons through again before he takes shots, which is a very bad move on my part for several reasons. And you'll see here I get stuck, and I don't really do much damage to him, and then here we go. Oh boy, stakes. Yes, there's stakes there. So I end up losing one of my Dragoons doing that, and I don't lose 2 of them, but I do take some pretty heavy damages on them, and it's really unfortunate because with those can't even say it right, but with those Dragoons I was actually set up pretty well to win this fight over here. Alright, so now we're going to shift over and take a look at my immediate right, the Swedish player played by Dominance 711, and he's got 2 lifeguards afoot here that are just a distance from my my flank, and that's all his remaining forces left. But he's just got them lined up really, really bad, and I think you'll see here one of his guys actually gets a shot off, and it's like almost the only shot that they get, and they're just going to be just completely overwhelmed and blown apart here in a minute by all of the Prussian forces and all the American forces surrounding. So they are just going to get absolutely leveled. And I'm actually going to bring my cav that I pushed through and that went through the stakes. I'm actually going to bring him over and around and back to try and support him. But at the time I didn't see how he was lined up, otherwise I wouldn't have even bothered. But yeah, it's just they get mowed down pretty hard and pretty quick. So yeah, they don't end up lasting very long. But at least by bringing my cav around, I do end up knocking out both of the remaining Prussian Jaegers of Luke's, and I will be able to start taking some shots on the cav that is masked up over there. So I've shifted my lights over to put some flanking fire onto his cav. That they're far enough in a way that I don't even think they realize it at the moment. And so you can see here my Dragoons getting some more shots on his cav. And over here in the distance you can see my lights shooting up the flank of the American cav. Now I think Deluxe does see it at one point, and he's trying to push a cav through, but I just mow it down. And Luke's going to push his line up on my remaining lines now, and I will shoot up. For some reason, he moves one of his lines across, I guess, to absorb all my fire. But by doing that, you know, any of the shots that miss do go into his line anyway. So, yeah. But anyways, you can see my cav back there, just trying to finish off the remnants of the Prussian Jaegers that were left behind. And I'm going to be shifting my lights over to shoot up the flank of the lines now, because I at the point I thought that the cav was going to leave me alone and go and try to mop up the rest of the Swedish forces, but little did I know there is no more Swedish forces left, so I'm pretty much all on my own here. So I'm going to get the remainder of the American cav and the remainder of the left body of the Luke's Prussian army coming back to flank me. So at this point, where I thought we possibly had a chance to win, I am now just trying to do as much damage as I possibly can. And you can see here I've got my lights set up. I'm going to try and get some shots off on actually do on his cav trying to flank around me. So I do a little bit of damage to him coming out of the trees, and I'm just going to have to fold back again, and as his lines are getting up on me already. So here we go. It's just going to be a back and forth a little bit here with our lines, but now I've shifted forward a little bit in time, and you can see his cav has made it around me, and I was trying to make it across the stakes to block his shots, but I didn't have time, so I do take quite a bit of damage on that Jaeger that was on the far right, and he almost breaks, but luckily he doesn't. But I do get some shots off. You'll see the horses laying dead on the ground as they make their way out, so I do inflict some damage on them, but I've got to keep moving because the lines are just constantly coming up on me. I don't have the leisure of really hanging out and you know, having a conversation with them. So here his dragoons are going to make another push on me, and I've got my lights set up, and I'm just going to have to absorb whatever he puts down on me. So I'm focusing all my fire on one of the dragoons right now, and then after I've destroyed that one, I focus my fire on the other one. But I actually lose one of my lights here, and things just get worse and worse. So my only goal at this point is to make sure that, as you can see, this Prussian on Prussian action, it's hard to tell what the hell's going on because everybody's wearing the same uniforms. So yeah, so anyways, Luke's going to push through, and my main goal is to take out his cav away from him, to give Amneroc some possible chance of winning this, because he is holding out pretty decently. So you can see here I'm shooting his cav in the back with my lights, and putting a pretty good amount of damage on him. And I think I do route one of his units out, and you can see another dragoon unit coming into the front of my lines. So I'm dealing with 3 dragoons, but 2 of them break right there. And I'm dealing with one more. He took some shots in the back of my line, and now I'm just shooting him as he makes his way towards my lights, and he will rout before he gets there, I believe. Okay, so now his cav is done. Now I'm getting mowed apart by his line, which is no good, so I've got to get out of that fight, and I'm out of room to maneuver because I'm right at the red line. So I'm focusing all my fire on the flank against his superior line on the flank, because I'm trying to take away his best toys. Again, just to give Amneroc the best chance possible of, once Luke's forces get over to that flank to be able to hold off the best he can, if you will. So you can see us trading fire, and my guys are just too thin to be able to resist this. So it's pretty much I'm done at this point, and you can see the final push. If I had room to kite, maybe I could have had a little bit better results, because I did have the range on him, and I would be able to you know, keep falling back as I fire a volley, fall back. He'd be forced to continually push me, and there's a possibility, not a great one, but still a possibility I could have done better than this. But as it is what it is. So good game to Luke on this one. He did good on this one. You know, he gets one every once in a while. So you can see my guys shooting him up a little bit as we die. This guy's very dramatic here at the end. Okay, so I'm toast, and forces, you can see there is a little bit of remnants of I think I do shift back in time a little bit here just to show you what some of the action was that happened, but you can see up in the little mini map I'm still fighting against Luke. But so this is back in time a little bit. This is how Joker mops up the remnants of the Swedish forces with the help of Deluxe. So you can see Amneroc's bringing his forces up. He's basically taking control of the Ottoman's starting position, and he has control of his starting position. He'll be now making his way across the battlefield as Joker has taken control of both his position and Bovski's position. So now we're facing, I guess you would say, perpendicular to what the battlefield used to be. Now there is 1 or 2 units left of the Ottoman player, so he will be making some, giving some help as well. So there goes the remnants of the Swedish player right there, which was Bovski, and he is, as they say, finished at this point. So now, shifting forward a little bit in time, you can see right about at this point is where I am trapped on the red line, and Deluxe is pushed all the way across to take the right flank, and Joker has the left flank with one of the Ottoman's units to assist. So he's going to push down the slope of the hill here with his New York, which have some pretty slick green uniforms, if I don't say. And he will have his dragoons come up behind and do some harassing fire on Amneroc's position, which is quite effective. But Amneroc has some pretty good units that he has in his arsenal, so he is going to put extra firepower back onto Joker's men, so his New York is going to get just mowed apart, as is his other lines. So it's going to force Joker to pull out of that fight on the right flank and continue to fight in a harassing fashion. Now on the other flank, we're going to see that Deluxe has a far different approach. He's actually, I don't know what happened here on the other flank, but over there you can see, I got a glimpse of it, you can see Joker's lights are actually shooting the hill. But over here on this flank, Deluxe's guys are walking right into the line of fire, so they're just taking devastating punishment by these Marines over here on this flank. And I don't know if he was doing something else or what happened, but he just gets all of his men just melted over here. So where he did have some pretty decent strength units, you're just going to see him start to just evaporate. So, alright. So now you can see Amneroc is going to be trying to fall back again to regroup his army. And I understand this might get a little confusing because the units of Amneroc and Deluxe are almost identical. Marines to Marines, Maryland to Maryland, so on and so forth. But just remember, Amneroc is the American with the blue flag, and Deluxe is the American with the red flag, red marker around it, if you will. So, again, Joker is basically holding Amneroc in place as Deluxe flanks around, and he is bringing in his cav to lay down harassing fire, one cav unit at a time, and this is going to basically whittle his forces down slowly. And here on this flank, again, another curious move by Deluxe. I don't know what happened here, but his guys are just walking. They don't even get any shots in. So you'll see one unit routes, and then as they walk, another unit's going to route just from the fire. And you know, you can't walk your guys into battle and expect them to hold two. So I don't know what happened here, honestly. I don't know if he lost connection, because usually AI at least stops and shoots some, but I don't know. He might have lost connection at this point, because I think he did lose connection. I really can't remember. Needless to say, all of Deluxe's men get pretty much mowed down. Okay, so over here, the forces of Amneroc on the flank facing Joker are starting to get overwhelmed with numbers and harassment fire, so they are going to try to fall back to hook up with the rest of their forces. And he's basically going to overlap. As he falls one section, he will fall, and the other section will shoot, and then vice versa. So this goes on for quite a bit, along with Rick putting up harassing fire with his dragoons. It's just back and forth the same thing. So you can see here the lesson from today's game that I learned painfully obvious, and you can see from Joker pulling off with perfection, is do your best to keep your cav alive, and at the end game your cav will win the game for you. Because honestly, Amneroc was winning this fight. He has superior line to what Joker has. By the time Luke gets his men over, he does have some pretty good units left, but if he did not have cav to support his line infantry, he being Joker, he wouldn't have had any men left to support Luke as he made his way over. So you can see the artillery of AI shooting solid shot. But yes, so this is going to mop up pretty well. Again, nice cav lesson in this one for me. Don't charge your cav like a moron like I did. So, but this was a very fun match. It really was. I think everybody enjoyed this one that played it, because it was a very hard fought contest. So good game to all of the opponents and all of my teammates. You know, I don't hopefully nobody takes I was picking on anybody, because we all made mistakes, and honestly I don't know if AI took over for somebody that left. I can't remember. I know some people left, but I think it was after after their army was beat. I don't know if they left when they still had units. So, but anyways, yeah, I, again, enjoyed this game tremendously. So, thanks again, everyone, and please like and subscribe, as it does help the channel to help us grow so I can bring you more content. I do have quite a bit of interesting battles coming for you soon. So please stick with me, and we'll be bringing you some more very shortly. Thanks again, everyone.